The Milwaukee Bucks have made their second conference finals in 3 years, but could this year end up being Giannis' best chance of ever winning an NBA championship in his career when it's all said and done? They are currently in an Eastern Conference Finals where they're going to face a young Atlanta Hawks team who are making their first conference finals appearance since 2015. And then if they beat the Hawks in the western side of things, they could be either facing a Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers, because I don't see him coming back in this playoffs, or a Phoenix Suns team, a young and inexperienced Phoenix Suns team, barring Chris Paul, who's got plenty of experience. So to me, it feels like a now or never situation for the Milwaukee Bucks to win their first championship since 1971. They can't win. If they can't win this year, I just don't. With all their key players who are currently in their primes, you got Giannis, who's 26 years old. You got Chris Middleton, who's 29. Drew Holiday is 31. Brook Lopez is 33, and PJ Tucker is 36. Then if they can't win it with all these players either in their primes or entering their primes, or just past their primes, then I don't see them ever winning, because all their stars are healthy. As I said, all pretty much in their primes. This is it's either now or never for the Bucks. And if they can't win it this year, it's not going to get any easier in the future. The Lakers and Nets and Clippers will get healthy next year. You can't bank them all and getting injured. All their key players getting injured every year. You got the Suns and Jazz, who I think are only going to get better in the future. They're good young teams who've got plenty of potential. And then you got Philly, you got Boston, you got Miami, and you also got Atlanta, who I can only see improving in the future. So the NBA, and then obviously I didn't even mention Dallas, Luka and all them, they can improve as well. So I can only see the NBA getting harder from here. So I think this is the best chance for the Milwaukee Bucks to win their first championship in 50 years. But let's look back on the Bucks' playoff journey so far. We are only in a conference finals, but that Brooklyn series was very impressive. But in the first round, they swept the Miami Heat, last year's NBA finalists. They just had way too much for Miami, way too good for them. They're on their level, 4-0 sweep, as I said. And yeah, that wasn't too entertaining of a series. It was impressive on Milwaukee's side, but not a great series to watch, really. But that second round against Brooklyn was amazing. It went the full distance, 7 games, where they won Game 7 in Brooklyn. The Bucks beat the title favourites and an incredibly hyped Brooklyn Nets team. All year people were saying that they're the championship favourites in a Game 7 in Brooklyn. And they went 2-0 down in that series, so it showed incredible character to come back from an 0-2 start, albeit Kyrie Irving missed most of the series due to injury, and James Harden missed the first half of the series due to injury, and when he came back he's a shell of his former self. So it's pretty much without Kyrie and James Harden, so they were expected to beat them, but they went 3-2 down when it was just KD and Harden, and they were playing as a prime KD, and as they going 3-2 down, you got to win both games. It shows character, and a Game 7 on the road, no matter who you're playing, it takes character to win that game. So fair play to the Bucks. It's easy to say, oh yeah, they only won because Harden and Kyrie were injured. I'm going to say, yeah, I accept that. They were injured. I think the Nets going up 2-0 with Kyrie and KD, I didn't see them losing that series. But once Kyrie and Harden went down, the Bucks showed incredible character, come back from 2-0 and then once again from 3-2 down. And they still play against a prime KD who dropped 48 points against them in Game 5 and Game 7. So fair play to the Bucks. Yes, they did their job. Yes, the Nets were injured, but they did what they had to do. Beat who's in front of you, and they did that. Giannis stepped up in Game 7 and in the series, but in Game 7 he scored 40 points, and for the series he averaged 32 points per game, 13 rebounds a game, 3.6 assists per game, on 50% shooting from the field. So not too bad from Giannis at all. He's improving from outside, as we can all see at this stage, and he's just definitely the main man in this Bucks team. He's got to be showing up every night from now on to the end really for the Bucks. He needs to be the number 1 guy consistently. As I said, Giannis showed in this series that he can shoot the mid-range, and he can shoot a bit from 3, and even if he doesn't make those 3s, he's always willing to take them on. That's the main thing in him. You've seen certain players like a Ben Simmons who just he won't even dunk anymore. Ben Simmons, he never took 3s before, but at least Giannis, he hits 3s, he's not at a high rate, but he can hit them, and he hit a few against Brooklyn, but at least he's always willing to take on the 3, and even at the mid-range as well. He's better at that than he is at the 3, and of course we all know his biggest strength, driving to the rim. But that 3-point shot, and even that mid-range shot, opens up his game a lot more, clears out the paint a bit. So he did very well that series, crucial for the Bucks, and on the defensive end, of course, he played a massive role as well. Giannis, I don't think, has got enough credit for how he played in the series. It's all about how KD and the Nets went out. I think Giannis hasn't got enough credit for his performances. There was a bit of criticism that he got for not guarding KD, but that clearly wasn't his decision. Clearly Coach Bud said it's PJ Tucker's guarding KD and that's it. There's nothing you can do about that. Really, KD should have got double teamed. He never got doubled. But they won in 7, so you can't really complain too much. And PJ Tucker, even though KD dropped 48 points on him twice, I think PJ played good defense on KD. You sound crazy or maybe not. You might agree with me. We all know PJ Tucker is a very good perimeter defender. But he made Giannis work, and at 36 years old as well. Don't forget that he's 36 years old. He's undersized. He made Giannis KD work for all 48 of those points in Game 5 and Game 7. Played great defense. Even that massive 2-pointer that should have been, that almost was a 3, that tied the game up and sent it to OT in Game 7. PJ Tucker played unbelievable defense on him. So fair play to PJ. They got him in on the buyout market. He's been a great addition. And as I said, at 36 years old, I'd be happy to see PJ Tucker win his first ring. He's had a long NBA career. It's not always been easy for him, but he's doing well now. Hits the corner 3 when needed. Plays great perimeter defense, as I said, and he's not going to have to guard anyone as tough as KD now from here on in to the rest of the playoffs. So that's Giannis and PJ Tucker. They did very well in that series. Chris Middleton is another player who hasn't got enough credit or the amount that he deserves after his performances in this year's playoffs. Him and Giannis are probably one of the best 1-2 punches in the NBA at the moment. With Giannis driving to the rim and Chris Middleton's mid-range game. Obviously LeBron AD are probably the best 1-2 punch. Like Brooklyn, they got 1-2-3 punch. You can pick any of those 3 players as a 1-2 punch. But I think Chris Middleton and Giannis are right up there with one of the very best 1-2 punches in the NBA. Middleton for the series against Brooklyn averaged 24.3 points per game, 8.7 boards a game, shooting 40% from the field and 36.5% from 3, shooting around 7 threes a game, and also getting 2 steals a game. I think Middleton is an underrated defender. He's not an elite defender. He's definitely not too bad. He got in Game 7. He got 5 steals in Game 7 versus Brooklyn. That's not too bad at all, if you ask me. So Chris Middleton's doing a great job. He was questioned over the previous years. Is he good enough to be a number 2 guy? He got questioned this year. He's good enough to be a number 2 guy, and I think he's shown that he is. He's not consistent enough, you could say, but I think he's shown enough. He's a top quality player. One player who struggled in the Brooklyn series was Drew Holiday. He struggled against Brooklyn, as I said, averaging 15 points per game, 6.3 assists per game, on 36% shooting from the field. But the Bucks are still a much better team with him in over Eric Bledsoe. He can create his own shot for a start, and he's a far better playmaker than Bledsoe. Great defender as well, as we all know. And he takes the playmaking pressure off Giannis. And even though he struggled versus Brooklyn, he still did that big 3 in Game 7. In Game 7 he played well, actually, showing signs that he's getting back to his best at just the right time with the conference finals coming up. And his defense will be crucial in this conference finals versus the Hawks. Him guarding Trae Young will be very interesting to see how much he can slow Trae Young down. He's not going to completely stop him, obviously. But even though Ben Simmons is getting a lot of hate at the moment, he did slow Trae Young down a bit near the end of that series. So that'd be interesting to see what Drew Holiday can do against Trae Young, and I think he will have a big part to play still in this Bucks championship run. And as a number 3 guy, even though he had a bad series against Brooklyn, as I said, he's still far superior over Eric Bledsoe. They wouldn't get here without him, I don't think. I think Eric Bledsoe, they're right to move him on. So looking forward for the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Atlanta Hawks, the Bucks are obviously the clear favourites in my opinion versus the Hawks, probably most people's. The Bucks are, I think, the best defense in the playoffs so far. They got great perimeter defenders and then they also got people like Brook Lopez and Giannis. And then obviously we all know PJ Tucker is a great defender, Drew Holiday great defender, and even Chris Middleton, as I said, underrated defender. They're also a very good 3-point shooting team. They got PJ Tucker, that corner 3, as I said, and when they hit their shots, they're pretty much unbeatable, really. They did have a couple of bad 3-point shooting days against Brooklyn, but when it mattered most, they knocked them down, and they're a good side. And the Hawks, though, they match up well with the Hawks, but the Hawks, they've also got good perimeter defenders, and they can also shoot the 3 very well. So it'll be an interesting matchup because they're quite similar teams in that way. But as I said, you got good players who can stretch the floor. In Danilo Gallinari, John Collins can stretch the floor for them, and also you got Clint Capella in the paint, who on Brook Lopez will be interesting to see how they can do. And obviously Trae Young's our main man, and Herter as well is playing unbelievable at the moment. So we'll see who will guard him. I think got like 27 points in Game 7 versus Philadelphia, Kevin Herter. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that up. But with all that said, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks will be favoured to win this series Granted that everyone stays healthy, Giannis, Middleton and Drew Holiday, obviously Lopez and PJ Tucker will be needed as well. They've stayed healthy so far, except for one player, Dante DiVincenzo. Now, he got injured in the Miami Heat series and he's going to miss the rest of these playoffs. And it didn't make too much of a difference against Brooklyn, but I did say before the start of playoffs, I made a video, one player who every NBA team needs, every playoff team needs to step up for them. And I said DeAndre Ayton. You know, nothing way to brag here, but I did say DeAndre Ayton for the Suns, and he has stepped up, and the Suns are looking like making the NBA Finals. And for the Bucks, I said DiVincenzo. So he's clearly a big enough, has a big role to play on this Bucks team. And people say about the Nets missing Kyrie and Harden, they're missing DiVincenzo. Clearly, different end of the scale here. You know, DiVincenzo has a much smaller impact than Kyrie and Harden, but they're still missing a big player in the rotation, and they're doing well without him. Honestly, Coach Mike Budenholzer, Coach Bud, is going up against his former side in the Atlanta Hawks, and people wanted him fired. People said he was going to get fired if they got eliminated against the Nets. Now it looks like he's staying, so he wanted to win this series, especially against his old side, the Hawks, and at their favourite. Coach Bud needs to be winning this championship, I think. You know, to get people off his back at the very least. And you know, assuming that they beat Atlanta, I think the Bucks match up well against both the Clippers and the Suns. I think it will be a Milwaukee Bucks Phoenix Suns finals, which I think very few predicted before the start of the season. I think the Bucks would have, they'd match up well to the Suns. I think they beat them in 6 games. I think if it's a Bucks Suns final, and that would see Giannis win his first ring, and I'd also see Milwaukee's first championship since the Kareem days in 1971. So it'll be interesting to see how far the Bucks can go. For me, I think it's a now or never for the Bucks and Giannis. It feels like that kind of moment for me. You've got to win it this year. If you don't win it this year, I just don't see how you're ever going to win it. You got no cap space, I don't think so. Yeah, it's a now or never situation for the Bucks, in my opinion. Tell me, guys, especially Bucks fans, if you're here, what do you guys think? Do you guys feel like it's championship or bust at this stage? You guys are now in every situation to win that championship, or do you guys think you might win one further down the line? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications. Stay notified when we upload. And with all that said, I'm out of here.